Hey everybody, good morning. It's about 9:15 in the morning. Market's open here in about 15 minutes. What I'd like to do is take about 15 minutes here really quickly and just take a look at markets, take a look at futures, all these different things that are going on right now. Because I was gone all week last week, which means I did not get a chance to do any updates for any of you guys here on YouTube. So before I get into any of this, of course, as you all know, this is not financial advice. I'm not your financial advisor. You're responsible for your own trades, managing your own risk, doing your own research, and I'm just giving my opinion on the market. So let's go ahead and take a look at the charts. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start here by taking a look at the S&P 500, just taking a look at our current path that we're potentially following through, and let's go ahead and move on into the chart. All right. So, admittedly, I haven't taken a look at this chart in a while. So I'm going to be kind of making some updates as we go through here. So a few things here. What I actually think is happening, just taking a look at just SPX, just the paper trading hours, what I'm still seeing is a nice little 1, 2, 1, and then an ABC here into a 2. This still looks valid. This looks solid. We came right back here to the 618. So let me just go ahead and move this over. And what this is a pivot low here and a pivot high here. And just moving it over, well, you can see we came right back to the 618 pretty cleanly. Now, it would not surprise me one bit for us to kind of raid these lows again at about 4,400. Right now, futures is at about 4,410. And with it being at 4,410, that means that SPX is pretty much going to open right about where it closed. Right now, we closed at 4,418 on Friday afternoon, and we're at about 4,420 right now. So I don't see any reason why this is going to look really scary. At the open. It's pretty much going to open again right where it closed. So this looks all right. And another thing that I do want to point out is we had our hourly wave down here. This was at our low back here before it curled up the next hour, and then we're creating another low here, and we are creating a little bit of a lower low. So there's really no bullish divergence here. But nonetheless, it does look like it's a little oversold. So I would expect to see a little bit of upside. Now, where is the upside going to be, you may ask? Well, let's just go ahead and see if we can take a look. Now, we would absolutely have to rip this week. And it's very possible for us to do that, just by the way. Our upside target, and again, the upside target doesn't necessarily have to be this week per se, but the 1618 is going to be at about 4,900. Now, I'm not saying we're going to hit 4,900 this week. I really, really seriously doubt that's going to happen. But as long as 4,400 holds, and I would venture to say, as long as 4,400 holds on an hourly basis, then I think the upside target of 4,900, 5,000 is very, very possible. Now, I'm thinking that's probably not going to happen until March or April, but if this is a 1-2-1-2, then I think that we've got a good candidate here. A lot of people are comparing this to 2018. People are comparing this to like November, December 2018. Now, that is a very well possibility, and they're looking at it as a fractal. But in my opinion, this doesn't look like that at all. So let me see if I can just go ahead and go to December of 2018. All right, let's just go ahead and do that. So 2018, and let's go to October of 2018. Let's just look and see what the market looked like back then. All right, so here, what a lot of people are comparing is, we are basically right here. Okay, so what we had, we had a nice move up and then a pull back to the lows, right? So if we go back to the lows from a couple weeks ago, and then we bounce, and then we go back to the highs of last week, and then we start to reject there, well then, yeah, I can see that that is something that is very, very possible for that to happen. But as you can see here, we had nice support here, we had nice resistance here. So we had a nice little box that we were trading inside of before we really broke down and then failed at this point, okay? And then we saw a big capitulation into Christmas. Now, again, I don't think that's exactly what's happening here. It doesn't look the same, but if it were to happen, right, we would have to come all the way back down here to 4,200, right? If we were going to compare the two scenarios with each other, we'd have to come all the way back down here to 4,200. Then we'd have to come all the way back up to 4,600. Then we have to go all the way back down to 4,200, break down a little bit, come up to maybe 43, 43.50, and then we fall and we go to our downside target of, wherever that is, 3,800, 3,700, before we see a big significant move to the upside. One more thing that I want to talk about here really quick is open interest. This week rather, is another big week for options expiration. This is OPEX week, so let's just take a real quick look as we usually do, and then I'm going to move on to NASDAQ, then I'm going to move on to Bitcoin here, trying to spend about 5 minutes on each one. So on Friday, this coming Friday, 71% of the 3.4 million contracts are bearish. 66% of the 1.5 million contracts that were traded on Friday were bearish. Okay. We've got a lot of open interest for today, or rather volume that traded on Friday for today's expiration, but there's really not a whole lot on Monday and Wednesday this week. The big expiration, of course, is Friday, and then the next one is going to be about a month later. 72% bearish, 3.2 million contracts are bearish, which 77% of the 839,000 contracts are bearish. So a lot of people are expecting the next month to be pretty darn bearish, okay? And I'm not saying that the bear scenario is not valid, because there is a very valid bear scenario I'm not really going to get into right now. But for me, it's all about short term. And the short term for me, it's as long as 4,400 holds, I'm not too overly concerned. Futures still look okay. So let's take a look at NASDAQ. And again, I have not looked at this in probably a week and a half, so a lot has happened since then. So, I was doing a lot of foreshadowing here. I was talking about a bottom here at 14,369, and this was all the way back, back here at early February. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and clear this out, because obviously some of this did happen as sort of we expected. Some of it did not. So we've got 5 waves down here. We've got a nice 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then a nice clean ABC. Honestly, this is pretty clean, and I'm going to fix the rest of my account here in just a moment. But we've got a nice clean ABC here. So we've got a nice A, B, C. I'm going to go ahead and color it green, because that's what everything else in this chart is. And then from up there, a nice 1, 2, and I'm not going to dig too far into this, but this could be a 3, 4, and then we could actually be still putting in a 5 after a little bit of a bounce. It's very, very possible. So we did go beyond the 618. So let's just take a look and see where the 786 would be sitting. So let's throw the 786 on here. Where does that land? At 14,150. So if we come down here to 14,150, which we probably will, right? It wouldn't surprise me one bit for us to come all the way back down here to the 14,150 level. And again, this still satisfies a 1, 2, 1, 2 scenario. Now this is a big wave 2, okay? It's a long wave 2, big wave 2. So when we get up to wave 4, it's probably not going to take this long because of the laws of alternation with Elliott wave. It looks to me like more than likely, if this is an ABC, right, to finish this as a 535, then more than likely what we are going to see is we're going to see just a very shallow wave 4. Very, very common. We have a sharp wave 2. More than likely we're going to have a shallow wave 4. And it may not take as long. It may take twice as long, right? We'll have to wait and see when we get there, because really nobody knows what's going to happen just quite yet. But this looks okay. Upside target for NASDAQ, dominant pivot low, dominant pivot high. We'll get our pullback, and let's just say for a moment that we bottom out here at about 14,150. Well, the upside target's going to be sitting right here at about 16,388, 16,400, somewhere in that range. If this does play out, right? So these obviously are going to be, out here more time based, further out, right? So that target for that wave 3 is going to be right up here at about 16,400. We're not going to talk about wave 4 and wave 5 just quite yet, but this looks okay, so long as these lows hold. Now, if you're talking about risk to reward for taking a trade, and again, I've got 2 minutes here to talk about NASDAQ before I move into Bitcoin. If you're talking about, taking a trade here, well, where's your risk management for going short, right? Because I know a lot of people that are wanting to go short right here. Well, where are you managing that risk? Well, you certainly could manage it right here. And if you've been following me for any amount of time, you know that I see this as resistance here and support here. So if we go and overtake 14,518, then I would say that we're probably going to see a move to the upside. Certainly your area of no return is going to be right here at about 15,050, right? Because that's going to be where your last dominant pivot high was. But you've got lots of price acceptance, lots of price agreement right here for resistance and support. So if we pump back up there and we reject there, which honestly, just full disclosure, I do expect we're going to get rejection there the first time we get to it. And that's probably what's going to create the wave 4 and then go down here to wave 5. I bet that's probably what's going to happen. We're at 14,253, and I say we're probably going to go to 14,500. We'll get a rejection there to back down to 14,150, but I think this still looks okay. All right, that's really it for NASDAQ. We've got the indicator down here. The hourly looks like it's going to be bouncing, right? So the hourly looks oversold. And futures on NASDAQ are at 14,215, 14,253. So, again, we're going to open pretty much about where we closed. So I don't see a whole lot of things to be concerned about here. So let's move into Bitcoin. Bitcoin, our good friend, is doing some real interesting things. We've been talking for a while. I talked about buying when we were down here. I don't remember. It was the 22nd of January, so it was right here in this range. I said, you know what? I'm buying here. Why was I buying there? Well, the reason why I was buying here, I was just basing it off of the indicator alone. Nothing more than the indicator, right? That's the only reason why I bought, because we had the 1 hour, the 3 hour, the 12 hour, the weekly. We're all pretty well oversold. And what do we actually have right now? I'm going to have to zoom this in for you to be able to actually see it. We actually have a bullish cross on the weekly. We haven't had a bullish cross on the weekly, just by the way. What I'm actually going to do here is I'm going to remove all of the other inputs, and I just want to show the weekly here for a moment, just to keep it clean. And I'm going to go to a daily time frame. When was the last time we saw a cross on the weekly? Well, it was back here, right? We had a cross right here. And that was after a significant move, and we had a little bit of a pullback, right? We're getting a bullish cross right here, and what happened? That was after a bit of a push up and then a pullback, okay? So very similar, not the same, but very similar, up and pullback, right? It looks very similar, up and then pull back, right? Up and pull back right here, and then we've got up and pull back right here. Now, does that mean that we can't go lower? Well, certainly not. We can go lower. But I would say as long as this level here to about 40,250 holds, I kind of have to be bullish. Even though we're in the bearish control zone right now, most times when Bitcoin has a bullish cross on these, like this was an exception, right? Back here, November of 2019, that was an exception. But right here, when it crossed again in January of 2020, it moved up quite a bit. It crossed when the price was sitting here at about 7,500, and it went all the way up to about 10 grand, right? So that was a decent move to the upside. It's about 30% to the upside. And certainly what happened right here, we had the bearish cross. That bearish cross happened before the capitulation, okay? The capitulation happened when, we were all the way up here in overbought, right? We were in overbought way back here, and we started a little bit of a trend down, and then we saw the weekly cross, and then what ended up happening? This was again at about $9,100, and then we had our big capitulation. Well, I'm not going to go back and analyze every single bullish cross that we get, but even right here, it pulled back from about 3,900, it pulled back to about 3,500, but that's still not a huge pullback. And then certainly we had the bullish cross right here. This was when we were at about $3,800. And then what ended up happening? Well, you guys know the history. We went all the way up to 16.3 or something like that. 13.8 is really where we ended up topping out in June of 2019. So bullish crosses on the weekly have to be taken seriously because they cross up for a reason. They cross up for a reason. Now, certainly we're not seeing that in general equities right now. If we take a look, again, if we take a look at SPX and take a look at this on a daily where we're just showing the weekly, right? The weekly is still heading down. The weekly still looks pretty unhealthy right now. But in crypto, it really doesn't look that bad. If you take a look at a lot of other cryptos, like take a look at Cardano, for instance. Okay, let's just take a look at Cardano. We're starting to get a little bit of a bullish cross here on Cardano. So there's potential there. Now, I pay more attention to the weekly on Bitcoin than I do on alts, but nonetheless, a lot of these are in an area where it looks not bad. If you take a look at FTM, right? FTM doesn't look great. right? So maybe I wouldn't play FTM. ACH, right? ACH versus USD. Look at this. This is not bad. This is getting there. It hasn't crossed, but it's probably going to in a week or two. You have to just be patient, give it time, and find the things that look the best. All right, what does Litecoin look like? Litecoin's at about $126 after a pretty significant move to the downside. So here, we had the cross, all the way back here on February 6th, and that's pretty much where the price is right now, to be fair. We're right inside of a chop zone, right? We're right inside of this zone right here where we've got lots of support, right? Also some candle opens and closures here, then some resistance, right? And then we've got support down here at the bottom at about 103, right? So support at 103, resistance at 142, break in either direction, and I think that's going to be where the trend is going to go, right? I'm not going to, dig too much into where support and resistance levels are going to be, but you guys get the idea just by taking a look at this. Take a look at candle bodies. Candle bodies, opens and closures, right? So where's your support and where's your resistance? These are the levels, and again, I look left, and this level was already there based off of this resistance level right here. We also had support right there, and I would also venture to say that we're probably going to see some significant resistance right there at about 232. So it's not rocket science. You just have to just be patient, look at the charts, analyze, spend some time with it in the morning, and just kind of try and prepare your week. For right now, things don't look terrible. What does look terrible is the candle that we had here on Nikkei 225. The weekly's getting down there. We did take a trade on this back on I think the 27th or the 28th. It was it was right down here. Let me pull up the our other waves and just take a look at this. We had the 1 hour, the 3 hour, the 12 hour all oversold all at the same time. So we took a trade pretty much down here at the bottom. We didn't actually take it on NI225. We took it on a Japanese equivalent ETF. But, this still looks okay. The only thing that I don't like is where the 3 hour is down there, and this daily looks like it wants to start moving down. Keep in mind on the hourly, you're going to only have 6 candles for a day on NI225 because of the way that they take lunch in the middle of the day. The whole market closes halfway through the day, so instead of having 7 or 8 candles, you're only going to get 6 on this one. So we're watching this pretty closely. We got to the point where this was at about 100% profit. And, of course, as I tell people on the server, if you see some profit, you should take some profit, especially if you're up 100%. If you close out half the position, well, then your trade is completely covered. You can just let it go, right? You forget about it. It could literally go to zero. And yeah, you didn't make anything, but you didn't lose anything either, right? So take the profit when you see the profit and let that trade go. All right, well, the market is now open, so I'm going to go ahead and end the video here. If this video did help you in any way, shape, or form, you know the deal. Like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. And wherever you are in the world, I hope you're having a good day, a good night, and a good evening. Take care, everyone.